Hey, good morning, Facebook and Get Inspired Michiana. It is Friday morning, Life Inspired, and our guest today is my dear friend Bonnie Moore, who I didn't realize it was 2008 when we met. And so we're very glad you could be with us today. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
So Bonnie came to South Bend area when her husband Justin got a job with Granger Community Church.
Yes.
And our very dear mutual friend Kim Powell had said, "Oh, I have friends, I need you to help find a house." So I got to help you find your first house. And then by the time you sold that one and bought the one you're in now, Kim Powell had her license and she got to help you with that. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I'm going to remind Facebook what we talk about here on Friday Morning Life Inspired. So we always do a turning point story in someone's life. And so we're going to ask 3 questions. There's life was kind of going along before your ... and then God moment. And that ... moment changed your trajectory. Now you have a new life. And so I kind of know a little bit about what you're going to talk about. So tell us, before your turning point is Hannah.
Yes.
And what happened leading up to your turning point?
Okay. So before I want to start, it's real quick, but in 2004 was when I married my husband, Justin. And we were young 22-year-olds and just ready to start life together. And I felt like as soon as we said I do, people were saying, "When are you going to have the baby? When's the grandbaby coming?" I'm like, "Wait a minute, we just got married." And so I'm sure that's natural. People hear that all the time.
Right.
When's the next step? When's the next step?
Yep.
But we had talked with some really good church friends of ours, and they really encouraged us to take time to just get to know each other, learn how to live together, and just be a married couple. And they said, "You'll never go back once you have kids. You don't get that time. Build that solid foundation." So we decided to wait about 3 years. Thought that was a good amount of time before we decided to start a family. So then 3 years came and went, and it was about time to start. And I thought, okay, yay, the next month, here we go. I'm going to have a baby.
We're gonna have a baby right away.
That didn't happen. And about a year down the road, I still hadn't gotten pregnant. And I consulted Google. I call Dr. Google, which you should never do. And I read that, if you don't get pregnant within a year, then there might be some kind of an issue. So I started to, wonder, do I need to consult my doctor? What's going on? And about that time is when Justin got the job offer here at Granger Community Church. We were in North Carolina. So the next year was kind of a blur. So I had a year of trying, we were trying to have a baby, nothing, and then another year of being up here and just
Got to
figure
get used
out
to the new life.
where are we going to live, where am I going to work, what kind of church am I going to go to, what doctor am I even going to see.
Right.
So that was just a whole other year of blur,
Right.
And nothing happened. But I found a great doctor, and she did a bunch of tests, just trying to figure out, what could be wrong, and nothing came back. Like there was really...
You're fine.
Yeah, I'm fine. And that kind of frustrated me, because if there's a problem, I want to fix it, and let's get going, and why is this not working?
This is my plan, God.
Exactly,
Don't we?
it's my plan. And so I just got real frustrated, and people, by this time, it's been 5 years or so, and they kind of started giving up hope and asking all the time. But I had one gentleman, we had gone to North Carolina to visit for a friend's wedding, and he was a really great guy. I hold nothing against him, but he stopped Justin and I in the hallway, and he said, "Stay right here, I need to go to my car." And I was like, "Okay." And he said, "I need to go find a key." And I said, "What for?" And he said, "For that chastity belt you're wearing." And he said, "Where's that baby coming from? Like, why aren't you having a baby?" And oh my goodness, it took everything I had inside me to keep from getting emotional. So I just kind of laughed it off, but I was like, "Oh, that was so hurtful." But he didn't know he was doing that. He's a great guy.
He was just trying to be funny.
Yeah, he's trying to be funny, but he didn't know what happened in the years previous
Right.
and how we had been trying. And people don't know; they just ask because they're curious.
Right.
And, so through that, I was getting frustrated, and I would just pray a lot in the shower, and I would cry, and I would say, "God, if I'm not supposed to be a mom, then why don't you take that away from me? That
The desire. Right.
And I thought, I'm just being selfish. This isn't me. This is totally me. I'm like, I just want to do the next thing that people do when they get married.
Yep.
And I was like, "God, just take this away." And he never would. And I was getting so frustrated. I was like, I just don't get it. And then time had passed, and I started to hear this little gentle whisper about adoption. And I thought, "Oh, is this from you, God? What's going on?" And I know that God knows how to contact me no matter what I'm doing, how busy I am, and how distant I get.
Yep.
And he kept sending me this message in my devotionals. It'd just be everywhere. And even in a sermon, I was like, okay, God, you had to do it that way from the pulpit. I'm here at adoption.
Right.
And I heard it from friends. I heard it on the radio. And I thought, this is maybe my next step. And maybe this is how I'm supposed to be a mom. Well, I talked with Justin, and he kind of thought about it and thought, I'm not really sure that this is the next step for us. And so I was like, okay. But I had a friend of ours that had worked through the foster care system, and she actually adopted through that. And so we asked if, she could sit down with us and talk us through, and she gave us the good, the bad, the honest, everything, nitty-gritty. I thought, well, maybe this will turn Justin's heart around, and we'll be on the same page, and this is what God wants. And he turned Justin's heart around in that meeting, and we got out, and he said, I think you're right. Maybe this is what we need to do. But he turned my heart completely around to where I was the one that was
don't think so.
I don't know if I can do this. This scares me. I don't really feel that peace I had when we went into it. And so then I was like, well, God, this is frustrating.
What are you doing?
So I just thought, in times past when I come to challenges in my life, I hear God's whisper saying, be still and know that I am God. And so I thought, well, I don't know what else to do right now, so we're just not going to do anything because we can't be on the same page. And so time had passed, and I had gotten really sick with a sinus infection, and it wouldn't go away. And I'd been to and from the doctor, on and off antibiotics, and it was like 3 weeks. And I thought, I'm never going to get well. I can't breathe. I can't, all this stuff. And I talked with one of my friends on text while I was at work, and I just told her about it. And I said, I think I'm late. I think I'm about 10 days late. And it didn't, really faze me because Dr. Google said with antibiotics that it can really mess up your cycle. So she encouraged me throughout the day, and she said, I really think you need to get a test. And I was like, no, I'm not going there. It's been 8 years.
I'm not getting my hopes up,
It's never happened for me. It's always negative. And we finally decided to get a test that night, and that's where it's going to come to my moment. So we took the test, and we put it in the bathroom, and I think it was like a 2-minute wait, and we thought, we're not staring at that thing.
No kidding,
Let's close
right?
the door. And we prayed during that 2 minutes, God, let your will be done, help us through this. And so Justin was the first one through the door, and I was kind of holding back because, I kind of had that feeling of, oh no, disappointment, here it comes, you know. And he just said, Bonnie, it's positive. You're pregnant. And I was like, oh my goodness, like I didn't even know what to do at that point because I had given up. Like I had not really even thought about it. So that was where, my ... moment where things just changed. 8 years, 11 years of marriage, 8 years of trying, and there was our Hannah Joy.
So you get a little plus sign or whatever it was to say that she's, and you knew she was a present from God the whole time. And then now you're on this new trajectory. We're going to be parents. Tell us about that. Tell us about Walking Inspired. What does that look like?
Well, I know that God's timing is perfect, and I know I tried to tell myself that in the 8 years. But when you're hurting, it's hard to you remind yourself. But I really believe now with where He has put Justin and I in our lives, in our church community, in our work community, our friendships, just the timing of just Hannah Joy. She is full of joy, and we named her that before we knew her, but we knew that she was the joy of our hearts. And so she really is, and I cannot wait to see. God's time is perfect, and I'm just kind of excited now to see like why she was meant to be here now. Like, who is she gonna affect? Who is she gonna help? She brings joy to everybody who meets her. Everybody loves her, and she's just full of energy and excitement in God.
So cool. I just really find it interesting because I knew that she was. We waited 10 years to have kids. Sorry, just got to wipe the tears away because they're going to drip down my face. We waited 10 years to have children, and same thing. Hello, give us some time, whatever. And so, and I knew you'd been married a while before Hannah came, so I didn't know if there had been difficulty or whatever. But part of me kind of wondered. Last week, our guest had 4 children, and then God told her to adopt.
Yeah.
And I just love that. God's story is different for every one of us. You weren't supposed to. Maybe in the future you're supposed to.
Yeah, maybe
but
it's
you
just a
weren't
whisper.
supposed to before Hannah. You were supposed to wait for Hannah. And I love her name with the story of Samuel.
Yep, that's the inspiration
Hannah
behind it.
waited for Samuel, and so you have a Hannah. So that's really awesome. But just drippy. So That's awesome. So I also heard you say while you were telling your story that God can tell you crazy things and whatever all the time. You know, He knows how to get a hold of you, I think is what you
Yes.
said. Tell us about that, because people that watch, every single one of us hears from God differently. And sometimes the way that you hear from Him is different from any other person that's ever shared, and it might just touch one person that's watching. So how do you hear from Him? What did you hear?
I try to kind of be alert throughout my day if I can on what God's putting in front of me. And sometimes it's just like a gentle whisper, like, hey, you should really go up to that person you don't know and tell them they're doing a good job. And I'm just like, no.
And gentle whisper, you heard a voice or just a thought that sounds like Bonnie?
Yeah, just a thought that sounds like me. And I'm just like, well, that can't be from me, because I would never want to just go up to somebody I don't know. And so sometimes I listen and sometimes I don't. And I'm thinking, I just missed out on an opportunity. But even when I feel like when I'm distant or I'm not paying attention, I know that God knows each of us differently and knows how to get in contact with us. And for me, I think it's repetition. Like on the radio and different things, when we were trying to consider moving up here, that "Be Still and Know I Am God" was there. It was on the radio. And one day I was going to work in North Carolina, and I heard the DJ on the radio said, I just feel like somebody today out there needs to hear that they need to be still and know that I am God. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was for me.
Right.
And I just lost it in tears. And even preparing for this, yesterday I was getting ready to leave work and I was getting nervous, and I was like, this is not of God. Fear is not of God. And I was trying to convince myself, and I looked up at work, and there's kind of rotating artwork at Granger Community Church as time goes on, and I had never noticed it before, and I wish I had a picture to show today, but I looked up and it was the sign, "Be still and know that I am God." It was across the room, and I was like, okay, God, I know. So it's just, and it's, and a lot of times he'll put it in my devotionals every day, or on the radio, or just through people I know, and post even the memes on Facebook.
Right.
I'm like, oh, that's for me.
Yeah.
So just trying to be present and just kind of hear those little whispers and thoughts.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. All right, Facebook, thanks for watching. And if you need to be still and know that God is God and you're not, maybe you're the one that needed to hear that today. Yep. So thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.